The massive warship drifted silently into the system, its presence like a dark wound against the fabric of space. No insignia, no transpondence, no communication, just a void swallowing the starlight. It loomed at the edge of the sector, drifting with an unnatural stillness, as though it were waiting for something. Captain Arlen of the United Terran Alliance warship Sovereign stood rigid on the bridge, watching the data stream in from their scanners. Every major faction in the sector was now aware of the black ship's arrival. Every diplomatic and military channel flickered with chatter. Was it a ghost ship? A derelict? Or something far worse? Arlen's first officer, Commandant, broke the tense silence. Sir, High Command has issued a priority directive. We are to engage, but under no circumstances are we to provoke. This ship is to be treated as a diplomatic entity until proven otherwise. Arlen exhaled slowly. Diplomatic? That thing looks more like a war machine than a peace envoy. No weapons detected. Shook his head. None that our scans can pick up. But that doesn't mean they aren't there. The bridge was quiet except for the ambient hum of Sovereign's systems. Tactical officers relayed orders, shifting the fleet into a defensive formation. Arlen knew every captain in the system was watching, waiting to see what the Sovereign would do. If the black ship was hostile, this would be the moment of reckoning. Open a channel, Arlen ordered. All frequencies. A moment later, the communications officer gave him a nod. Black ship, this is Captain Elias Arlen of the United Terran Alliance warship Sovereign. You are entering a contested system. Identify yourselves and state your purpose. No response. Arlen gestured to cut the transmission. Commandant, any changes? Reviewed the data. Negative, sir. They haven't altered course or attempted any communication. Arlen's jaw tightened. They're waiting for something. But what? The tactical display flickered as analysis of the black ship's surface streamed in. The hull composition was an enigma, some sort of alloy that defied normal scans, absorbing most sensor signals. The only thing they knew for certain was that it was ancient. Sir, the science officer interjected. We're picking up something new. It's faint, but there's a pulse of energy coming from the ship's core. Some kind of. Before he could finish, the comms officer jerked upright. Incoming transmission. It's static. A distortion cut through the silence like a scream. Then a voice, smooth and unnatural, resonated through the bridge. We acknowledge you, Captain Elias Arlen of the United Terran Alliance. Stand by. We will speak. Soon. Then, silence again. The black ship remained motionless, as if watching. The entire bridge seemed to hold its breath. Well, murmured. That's ominous. Arlen straightened. They know my name. They know who we are. That means they've been watching us longer than we realized. His fingers tapped restlessly on the console. Helm, adjust position. Keep us just outside their immediate range, but do not make any aggressive movements. The ship's engines hummed as Sovereign carefully realigned. Tactical, I want every ship in this sector to be on standby. If this thing so much as twitches in the wrong direction, I want to know before it happens. Aye, Captain. Minutes stretched into eternity. The black ship did nothing. It simply loomed, as if gauging them, measuring their patience. Every ship in the system was now locked onto it, fleets slowly maneuvering into formation. Any wrong move, from either side, and war could ignite in seconds. Arlen pieced the bridge, uneasy. They will speak soon, he repeated the message under his breath. But what are they waiting for? As if in response, the black ship's hull shimmered, and a single, narrow aperture began to open. A docking bay. Captain. Voice was quiet but tense. I think they just sent us an invitation. The docking bay of the black ship yawned open like the maw of some ancient beast, revealing only darkness beyond. Captain Arlen stood at the edge of the Sovereign's primary shutter bay, watching as his escort team ran final checks on their weapons and environmental suits. The black ship had finally responded, not with words, but with an invitation. This feels like walking into a trap, Commandant muttered, checking the charge on his sidearm. It probably is, Arlen admitted. But we don't have a choice. We need answers. And this is the only way we're going to get them. The shutter's engines hummed as they powered up, a low vibration through the deck. Arlen and a team of 6 heavily armed Marines boarded, strapping in as the pilot initiated launch procedures. Control, this is Shutter Van. We are green for launch. Acknowledging emergency protocols, mission priority, diplomacy and intelligence gathering. The calm officer's voice crackled back through the channel. Copy that, Shutter Van. Be advised, all fleet assets remain at full alert. If anything goes wrong, we will respond immediately. Good luck. As the shutter detached and drifted toward the black ship, the sense of foreboding thickened. The open hangar swallowed them whole, and for a moment, it felt as if they were being absorbed into an abyss. The moment they crossed the threshold, external communication with the Sovereign cut out. Damn, it growled. They're jamming us. Arlen's jaw tightened. Not unexpected. Everyone, stay sharp. Helmets sealed. As they landed with a soft thud, the shutter doors hissed open. No alarms. No visible defense systems. Just a cavernous bay lined with towering, biomechanical structures pulsating with an eerie luminescence. Movement, one of the Marines announced. Arlen turned just as the darkness shifted. A lone figure stepped into view, draped in flowing robes. Their face was obscured by a mask, smooth and featureless except for 2 piercing, golden slits where eyes should be. When they spoke, their voice was neither male nor female, just an unsettling, resonant whisper. You have come as expected. Follow. Speak only when spoken to. Stiffened. Arrogant best, Arlen raised a hand, silencing him. Let's move. They followed the figure deeper into the ship, stepping cautiously as the architecture twisted around them, shifting subtly as if the ship itself were alive. Shadows flickered along the edges of their vision, movements unseen but felt. The corridors led to a massive chamber, lined with pillars inscribed with glowing runes. At its center stood a circular platform, surrounded by floating, holographic symbols that rearranged themselves in an alien dance. Captain Elias Arlen, the masked figure intoned, you seek an audience. You wish to understand. But do you truly comprehend the nature of what stands before you? Arlen's voice was steady. We understand that your arrival has disrupted the balance of this sector. That you carry knowledge and power we don't yet grasp. We are here to determine your intent. The figure tilted its head slightly. Intent is a construct of lesser minds. We do not operate on such simple motivations. You stand at the precipice of something far greater than your petty conflicts and alliances. You are either prepared to listen or doomed to be swept away. The holograms above the platform coalesced into an image, a fleet, vast and ancient, emerging from the void. The ships were unlike anything in known records, their design predatory, their size dwarfing even the largest dreadnoughts in the Terran fleet. They come, the envoy whispered, and you are not ready. A cold chill ran through Arlen. Who are they? The figure turned away. A force beyond your comprehension. And you will stand no chance alone. Exhaled sharply. This is a damn recruitment pitch. The envoy faced them once more. An offer. We do not give second chances. Decide wisely, Captain. Arlen stared at the ghostly images of the approaching fleet. The choices before him narrowed to 2. Trust the black ship and its enigmatic masters, or reject them and risk annihilation at the hands of an unknown force. His decision would change the fate of the sector. Give me something real, he said, was hard as steel. A reason to trust you. The envoy's mask shifted, the golden slits pulsing like dying stars. We already have. And with that, the chamber plunged into darkness. The darkness lifted as abruptly as it had fallen, revealing a different chamber, when that hadn't been there before. Captain Arlen's pulse quickened. The shifting architecture of the black ship confirmed his growing suspicion. This vessel wasn't just a ship. It was alive. Gritted his teeth, scanning the surroundings. I don't like this, Captain. They're controlling what we see, where we go. Arlen nodded slightly. Stay alert. This is a test. The masked envoy reappeared without sound or warning, standing at the edge of the glowing runes in the floor. You question what you do not understand. They said there was smooth yet unsettling. You demand proof, yet deny the evidence before you. You are predictable, as all your kind are. The holograms above them shimmered again, this time forming projections of Sovereign and the entire United Terran fleet. A moment later, the projection changed, Terran ships burning, torn apart by enemy vessels of incomprehensible design. This is your future. It is inevitable. Arlen clenched his fists. You're trying to manipulate us. Show me something that proves this isn't just some elaborate deception. The envoy tilted their head slightly, then raised a hand. The chamber trembled. The air around them thickened, distorting as if space itself were warping. And then it happened. The projection came to life. It was no longer just an image. It was a window into the future. The Sovereign shook violently as alarms blared across the bridge. Arlen was suddenly there, standing amidst the chaos of his own ship. Officers scrambled to their stations. The enemy fleet was real, massive, looming, their weapons already discharging searing streams of energy that cut through the Terran fleet like paper. Explosions rattled the hull, sending officers flying. Damage repaired. Arlen shouted. Hull breaches across multiple decks. Shields at 17%. The voice of his tactical officer cracked with panic. Captain, we can't hold them. They're everywhere. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the vision snapped away. Arlen stumbled back into the chamber panting. Sweat dripped from his brow. Looked shaken, his breathing ragged. What the hell just happened? Arlen's gaze snapped back to the envoy. What was that? A trick. The envoy remained unmoving. It was a truth you refused to accept. A glimpse into the path your people will walk, unless you listen. Turned to Arlen. Sir, that wasn't just some vision. I could feel it. I was there. The ship shaking, the heat of the fires. That was real. Or at least, as real as anything I've ever experienced. Arlen steadied himself. The envoy had shown him something terrible, something that felt impossible. But what if it wasn't? All right, Arlen said slowly. You've made your point. If what you're saying is true, then tell me, how do we stop it? The envoy exhaled, a sound like wind through hollow matter. You cannot stop it. You can only choose how it begins. The holograms changed again. This time, they displayed two different outcomes. When the Terran fleet crashed, planets left burning. The other, a fractured but surviving alliance, where the black ship fought alongside them. You know what must be done, the envoy whispered. Now you must decide. Will you act before it is too late? Arlen turned to, searching his face. His first officer, ever the skeptic, looked uncertain for the first time in his career. Sir, I don't like this. But I don't think we can ignore it. Arlen took a deep breath and faced the envoy. If we agree, if we trust you, what do you want in return? The envoy stepped forward, and for the first time, Arlen saw a glimpse of what lay beneath the mask. Something ancient. Something watching. A single promise, they whispered. When the time comes, you will not hesitate. The air in the chamber grew thick with unspoken tension. Captain Arlen felt the weight of the envoy's words settle upon him like a leaden shroud. When the time comes, you will not hesitate. The phrase echoed in his mind, looping with chilling finality. He had faced impossible choices before, but never when that felt as if it would decide the fate of his entire species. He exhaled slowly, his breath steady despite the storm raging inside him. I understand, he said at last. Then you have made your choice, the envoy responded, stepping back as the chamber around them began to shift again. The walls peeled away like liquid shadows, revealing a massive, into space. Beyond the glass, a fleet unlike anything in recorded history lurked at the edges of the void. Their ships moved with an eerie fluidity, their forms shifting as though they weren't bound by the same physical laws as other vessels. Some looked like jagged monoliths, others like pulsating aorganic constructs. And at the heart of it all was something massive, something that dwarfed even the largest dreadnought in the Terran fleet. The Harbinger, the Envoy intoned. The first of its kind, but not the last. If it awakens fully, your worlds will burn. Your people will scream, but no one will be left to hear them. Clenched his fists. And what do you expect us to do? We're outmatched. You said yourself we can't stop this. Arlen remained silent, staring at the vast cosmic horror before him. The envoy's golden eyes flared behind the mask. You cannot stop it alone. But you are not alone, not anymore. The projection shifted again, showing the Terran fleet standing alongside the black ship and its skin, ships that defied logic, weapons that defied science. If you stand with us, there is a path forward. One where humanity does not merely survive, but endures. The words carried a weight beyond diplomacy. They were a challenge, a test of resolve. Arlen turned away from and faced the envoy directly. What's the cost? The envoy tilted their head, as if the question was irrelevant. Sacrifice is inevitable. Those who refuse to change will be lost. The question is not whether you will lose, but whether you will be strong enough to bear it. Arlen knew the answer already. He had seen the destruction, felt the heat of fire and the silence of death in the vision they had forced upon him. He had no illusions. This alliance was not built on trust, nor on friendship. It was built on necessity. Then we have a deal, Arlen said, his voice firm. Stiffened beside him, but he didn't object. He knew as well as Arlen did that this was the only path left to them. The envoy nodded, and in that moment, the chamber dissolved around them. Arlen blinked and found himself back in the docking bay of the black ship, his team still with him. The Marines looked disoriented, gripping their weapons as if expecting an attack, but none came. Their shutter stood waiting, untouched as if nothing had happened. Captain, we're receiving communications from the Sovereign again. One of the Marines reported. Arlen tapped his earpiece. This is Arlen. We're returning to the ship. Prepare the fleet for strategic coordination. We have a new directive. As they boarded the shutter, sat across from him, arms crossed. This isn't just about survival, is it? Arlen met his gaze, weary but resolute. No. It's about ensuring we're not the ones left behind in the dark. The engines rumbled to life, and as the shutter departed the black ship, Arlen couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had just stepped into something far greater than itself. Whether it was salvation or damnation, only time would tell. But one thing was certain, the future had been rewritten, and there was no turning back.